Stop everything! What just happened in the computer models over the last 6 hours will completely shock you. The atmosphere is literally rewriting the rules of winter weather as we speak, and millions of Americans are about to experience something absolutely extraordinary. We're not just tracking one storm. We're witnessing the birth of a pattern that could deliver multiple historic snowstorms through February. And here's what makes this absolutely mind-blowing. Cities that just experienced their first significant snow in years are about to get hit again. Atlanta just broke a snowless streak record with 3 to 5 inches last week, and the models are already showing another potential event brewing. Dallas, which was paralyzed by 12 inches of snow just days ago, could face round 2 of this winter nightmare scenario. But wait, because what I'm about to reveal about this weekend's coastal storm threat will leave you absolutely speechless. The European and GFS models just achieved something meteorologists rarely see. Perfect agreement on a potentially massive East Coast snow event. We're talking about the possibility of 6 to 12 inches from Washington, D.C. through New York City, with some areas potentially seeing even more. Drop your exact location in the comments right now, because I'll be giving personalized forecasts throughout this breakdown. Smash that subscribe button immediately, because this pattern is evolving by the hour, and missing one update could be catastrophic. Over the next 18 minutes, I'll expose exactly why this could be the most significant winter weather period in a generation. Let me start with breaking news that just came in from the National Weather Service. Winter storm warnings are already being issued. New York City, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. are all in the crosshairs for what could be their biggest snowfall since 2022. But here's what's absolutely terrifying and fascinating simultaneously. This is just the beginning. The blocking pattern that's establishing itself over Greenland and Alaska is creating an atmospheric superhighway for Arctic air masses. We're dealing with the same configuration that produced the legendary January 2014 polar vortex collapse. Except this time, the models are showing something even more intense developing over the next 3 weeks. Tell me in the comments, which scares you more? The immediate weekend storm or the potential for weeks of Arctic warfare? Because what's happening with the stratosphere right now is absolutely unprecedented for this time of year. The polar vortex is showing signs of weakness that could send the coldest air in years streaming directly into the United States. Minneapolis and Chicago residents, you need to prepare for wind chills approaching 40 degrees below zero next week. Detroit, Cleveland, and Buffalo are facing the potential for 2 to 4 feet of lake effect snow over the next 10 days. But here's where this story takes the most shocking turn that even 30-year weather veterans are calling extraordinary. The moisture transport from the Atlantic is creating a perfect storm factory right off the East Coast. We're tracking at least 3 separate opportunities for major nor'easters between now and February 15th. Boston, Hartford, and Providence could experience their snowiest winter in over a decade if this pattern holds. Syracuse, Rochester, and Albany are positioned for potentially record-breaking seasonal snow total. Now let me blow your mind with what just happened in the latest European model run that has meteorologists in emergency meetings. The storm track for this weekend's event shifted 200 miles west in just 12 hours. That's absolutely massive. Philadelphia went from 2 inches to potentially 8 inches, while New York City could see their biggest snow since the 2016 blizzard. Baltimore, Richmond, and Norfolk are suddenly in play for significant accumulating snow that was impossible just yesterday. But wait until you see what the ensemble models revealed about the La Niña collapse that's driving this chaos. The Pacific Ocean pattern that's been suppressing East Coast storms is literally disintegrating before our eyes. This creates a window of opportunity for multiple blockbuster winter weather events that we haven't seen in years. Tell me honestly in the comments, are you secretly hoping for massive snow or absolutely dreading it? Because what's developing could either be every snow lover's dream or a complete transportation nightmare. The economic implications alone are staggering. We're talking about potential billion-dollar impacts across multiple storm systems. Airlines are already pre-positioning equipment and crews for what could be weeks of continuous weather disruption. Interstate 95 from Maine to Florida could face repeated closures as storm after storm moves up the coast. School districts from Virginia to Vermont are developing contingency plans for potentially historic snow accumulations. But here's what absolutely amazes me about the atmospheric mechanics driving this extraordinary pattern. The temperature gradient between Canada and the Gulf of Mexico is reaching levels that create maximum storm intensification potential. We're dealing with a 60-degree temperature difference across just 1,000 miles. That's explosive storm fuel. Nashville, Louisville, and Cincinnati are positioned perfectly for repeated winter weather impacts throughout this pattern. Columbus, Indianapolis, and Pittsburgh face their best chance for multiple significant snow events since 2014. Now let me reveal something that will completely change how you think about this weekend's developing storm. The UK Met model just painted a scenario showing 18 inches of snow from Philadelphia to Boston, and it's not alone. 3 different global forecast models are converging on a solution that could shut down the entire I-95 corridor. This isn't just model fantasy. The atmospheric signatures are screaming major winter storm development. The 500 millibar pattern shows the strongest trough amplification we've seen this winter approaching the East Coast. Surface low pressure is forecast to explosively deepen to 970 millibars right off Cape Hatteras Sunday morning. That's bomb cyclone territory with maximum moisture transport directly into the cold air mass. But what makes this absolutely extraordinary is the persistence factor that most people aren't talking about. Rather than one storm and done, we're looking at a conveyor belt of storm systems queuing up in the Pacific. The jet stream configuration is locked in a pattern that favors East Coast storm development for potentially weeks. Seattle, Portland, and San Francisco remain trapped under persistent high pressure while the East gets hammered. Tell me your specific city, and I'll give you a personalized outlook. The most commented cities get detailed coverage tomorrow, because what's happening with the Arctic Oscillation is creating a once-in-a-decade opportunity for legendary winter weather. The AO index is forecast to plunge to -3 or lower, indicating maximum Arctic air invasion potential. Combined with a negative NAO over Greenland, this creates the perfect storm generation environment. Denver, Salt Lake City, and the entire Intermountain West could see spillover effects from this massive pattern shift. Ski resorts from Colorado to Vermont are about to receive the natural snowmaking bonanza they've been desperately waiting for. But here's what has me simultaneously terrified and excited about the extended forecast models. We're entering a period where the atmosphere could deliver multiple 1 to 2 foot snow events within just weeks of each other. The last time we saw this level of pattern amplification was during the historic 2009 to 2010 winter. That winter produced the infamous Snowmageddon blizzards that paralyzed Washington, D.C. with 56 inches of snow. Current atmospheric conditions suggest we could be approaching a similar level of winter weather chaos. Las Vegas and Phoenix might even see rare mountain snow as the pattern completely reorganizes western flow. But let's dive into the immediate threat, because this weekend storm could be the opening act to winter's greatest show. Friday evening marks the beginning of what could be 36 hours of continuous snow across the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Snow will begin as light flurries around 6 p.m. Friday in Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia. By midnight, moderate to heavy snow will be falling from Baltimore through New York City into southern New England. The peak intensity occurs Saturday morning with snowfall rates reaching 2 to 3 inches per hour in the heaviest bands. Allentown, Reading, and the Lehigh Valley could wake up to 6 to 12 inches by Saturday morning. But here's where the forecast becomes absolutely mind-blowing for areas further south. Charlotte, Raleigh, and even parts of South Carolina are showing up in some model solutions. This would mark the second significant snow event in just 2 weeks for cities that rarely see winter weather. Atlanta meteorologists are closely monitoring the southern extent of this storm after last week's historic snowfall. The subtropical jet is interacting with Arctic air in ways that defy typical winter weather patterns. Now tell me honestly, which city do you think will get hit the hardest this weekend? because the storm's exact track will determine whether New York sees 4 inches or 14 inches. A 50-mile shift in the low-pressure track could mean the difference between rain and 8 inches of snow for millions. That's why professional meteorologists are calling this one of the most challenging forecasts of the winter. The margin for error is extremely small when dealing with coastal storm development this volatile. But what gives me confidence in this forecast is the unprecedented model agreement we're seeing. When the European, GFS, Canadian, and UK Met models all show similar solutions, that's extremely significant. The ensemble members are clustering around a major winter weather event rather than showing wild variation. This level of model consensus at 72 hours out is exactly what forecasters look for in high-confidence predictions. Now let's talk about the psychological impact of what this pattern could do to snow-starved regions. Many areas haven't experienced a legitimate winter in years, and suddenly they're facing potential snow overload. Snow removal equipment that's been sitting idle could be overwhelmed by a rapid succession of major events. Emergency management officials are already discussing mutual aid agreements for potential multi-state disasters. But here's what excites winter weather enthusiasts about this developing pattern configuration. We're potentially witnessing the return of classic East Coast nor'easter development that's been absent for years. The type of storms that create 20 to 30-inch snowfall totals from Virginia through Maine. Children across the snow belt could experience magical winter conditions they've never seen before. Photography enthusiasts will have endless opportunities to capture stunning winter landscape transformations. But remember, with great winter weather comes great responsibility for preparation and safety. Snow shovels, ice melt, and emergency supplies need to be secured immediately before weekend storm arrival. Vehicle winter preparation becomes absolutely critical when facing potentially historic snow accumulations. Heating systems should be inspected and backup power sources tested before extended cold periods begin. Pipe protection and insulation checks could prevent thousands of dollars in freeze damage. Pet and livestock preparations require immediate attention during potentially life-threatening cold outbreaks. Now let me reveal what the extended forecast models show that will absolutely blow your mind. The final week of January could feature 3 separate storm systems capable of major snow production. We're talking about January 25th, January 29th, and February 2nd as potential blockbuster dates. The atmospheric pattern shows no signs of breaking down through the first week of February. This could represent the most active winter weather period since the legendary 2013 to 2014 season. That winter featured multiple crippling storms that shut down entire metropolitan areas for days. Current conditions suggest we're approaching a similar level of atmospheric chaos and winter weather intensity. Tell me in the comments what you remember about that legendary winter. Are you ready for a repeat? Because the stratospheric warming event that's developing could send polar vortex fragments streaming southward. We're potentially looking at sustained sub-zero temperatures reaching as far south as Tennessee and Kentucky. Wind chill values could approach 50 degrees below zero across the northern plains and upper Midwest. These are the types of conditions that create heroic stories of survival and community resilience, but also the conditions that demand maximum preparation and respect for Mother Nature's raw power. The ripple effects of this pattern will extend far beyond just snow accumulation totals. Energy demand could spike to dangerous levels during prolonged Arctic air invasions. Agricultural impacts include potential livestock stress and crop storage challenges across affected regions. Transportation networks from trucking to rail could face systematic disruption lasting weeks. Tourism industries in mountain regions will see massive economic boosts from perfect ski conditions. But urban areas face potential economic losses from repeated business and school closures. Share your winter weather preparation tips in the comments. Community knowledge could literally save lives, because what's developing represents exactly why our ancestors prepared for winter months in advance. Modern society may have forgotten the raw power of winter, but the atmosphere is about to provide a reminder. This could be the winter that reshapes how we think about seasonal weather preparation and community resilience. The most significant winter weather pattern in a generation is about to unleash its full potential. History is being written in real time, and we're documenting every incredible moment together. Hit that notification bell right now because updates are coming hourly as conditions rapidly evolve. Tomorrow's emergency broadcast will feature city-specific forecasts and timing updates for weekend impacts. The most engaged commenters will receive personalized responses with detailed preparation recommendations. Share this forecast immediately with everyone you know because preparation saves lives during extreme weather. Drop your biggest winter weather question and location. I'm personally responding to build our weather community. Together, we'll navigate this extraordinary winter weather adventure and ensure everyone stays safe and informed. What happens over the next 72 hours could determine whether this becomes legendary or catastrophic. Either way, you'll be completely prepared because you're part of the most informed weather community online. The atmospheric warfare begins this weekend. Are you ready for winter's ultimate challenge?